Well, that was fun having Galen with me on my trap lines. First time he's ever accompanied me, and he's an accomplished trapper, but he wanted to see some new country and see my methods. And you know, it was a little disappointing, all the carnage on the coyotes, but we got tomorrow yet too. So, and you know, it's just fun being with somebody that you know and enjoy, and it's. Back in the day, I didn't take people with me. I was pretty private about my activities, but let's see what happens tomorrow.
These bloodshot eyes of knowledge, too proud to ever behold the all that is this and nothingness out on the bad river road, out on the bad river road.
Well, we've got a thicket here that runs right along a fence line. It's just prime hunting ground for coyotes, big thicket. And I set the undercover of it mainly because it's going to be much harder for eagles to see it in here. And eagles are the enemy. And magpies somewhat, but eagles are the true enemy. And the rancher said, no cows in here. But there's cows right over the fence, and coyotes tend to hang by cows. Slim Peterson told me one time that he thinks it's because it's inherent from back in the days of the buffalo. The wolves and the coyotes, they'd just follow the buffalo. And so if you're close to cows, you probably have somewhat of an advantage for whatever reason. And I've seen them right in the cow herd. When it gets cold, they eat the turds, and they eat some of the food supplements. But anyway, I digress. We've got a double here, and the snow didn't affect us. It didn't blow in here anyway, and so the snares were still working, and we nailed us a double. I can see the other one up in here. But there's been nothing eaten on them, so that's great news. And he's just a little froze down. I hate to. You want to do as little damage as possible if they're froze down, because you'll pull fur off. And it's mainly down on his flank where he's froze. We pulled off a little fur, but not a lot. And it's right on the leg, so that's not gonna matter. So I'm gonna crawl in here and get the other one out. Very pleased with that catch. Okay, this is the second coyote of the double, and this guy's flank caught, and I assume that's because of the snow that came in after I set these, and so they were walking higher, so he walked through the loop. And what happens, I'm told, with flank caught coyotes, they die in this type of snare. And Gary Jepson told me it cuts off the blood flow down in the organs. And you can see he got wrapped up in this, and he did almost no destruction. He didn't live very long. And once again, nothing picking at him. We're in this little hollow, and so, like I say, it's hard for critters to see in here. I'm gonna see if I can get this off. Yep, I can get at it. There's our mini torque spring sold by Dakota Line. Death blow cam lock. And he may be the rest of the cable he may have to thaw out to get that out. But he looks like a good coyote. There's no breaking up between the shoulders. And we're getting into that season. So I'm very pleased to have a double here. Winter coyotes, fully primed, no damage to them. It just doesn't get any better. It's, I think, December 19th today. Days are getting pretty short, so better keep moving.
Just like some cheap perfume that worships the sweet of sweetness, and it dulls the sense of what's old. To the one who blessed this morning out on the bad road, out on the bad road.
Wiebe Trapline Adventures is brought to you by Shields All Sports. Follow your passion for everything outdoors. By Dakota Line Snares and Trapping Products. Snares loaded for speed. And by Wiebe Fleshing and Skinning Knives. We are wicked sharp. We are Wiebe.
Well, I'm down here in the bottom of a creek area, and my buggy and tracks can get me down here. And this has always been a good spot for snaring, but the guy that's with me, Galen, he came out here and he picked up 4 different coyote tracks, very fresh. And we're guessing that maybe we interrupted a deer ambush because there's deer tracks here, and the deer started sliding on the ice. And there's no evidence of blood or anything, but we maybe interrupted it. And so I like to set on sign during the winter time. I set fewer snares, but I set on sign, and so they're better snares. And right now the conditions are pretty good. The snow is a little deep. It's sometimes hard to identify coyote tracks that are mixed in with deer tracks, and there's snow blowing over them, but you do your best and you set on sign. And so we're going to hang, you know, a number of snares in here, both this direction and behind us, and we're going to connect on some coyotes here. They're here, they're definitely here. Well, we've got 5 snares down in here, and something, it looks like a coyote across over there. It looks like a little red tint too, so it could be eaten by eagles, but we'll go find out. That's all I'm seeing, but there could be something else. Well, we got us a coyote. He died by entanglement. You can see how he wrapped around this. His head is up off the ground, and that's what that entanglement there killed him, and that's what's important for coyotes, is killing them. Unfortunately, this guy got eaten by eagles, and so he's not worth keeping. But it's coyote number 3 of the day. First one eaten by eagles, so anyway, it's kind of disappointing. Okay, I want to talk about tracks, just a little bit in general, and then coyote tracks. But when you're reading animal sign, it's important to remember there's a lot of variables. In this case, one variable is the hardness of the snow, or it could be dirt, or it could be mud. Secondly, it could be an incline, could be a decline where they're going. Could be the gait of the animal. In other words, are they trotting? Are they walking? Are they running fast to get away? There's a whole bunch of different variables, and so you start lining these up and you combine them. It makes a lot of variables. I mean, sometimes it's hard in deeper snow to tell a deer from a coyote, for instance. Deer make a bigger mess, but I've been fooled before. Sometimes coyotes will make a mess. Sometimes coyote will do a little drag. Sometimes deer don't do a little drag, and it may depend on their gait. It may depend on the difference between a mule deer and a white-tailed deer. In this case, let's take a look at these tracks, and I would be pretty certain this coyote's just walking at a normal pace. He probably doesn't have a care in the world right now. He might be hungry, but he's just walking at a normal pace, and these are going 2 different directions. And always remember that the hind foot of a canine is smaller than the front foot. It's probably because they evolved with the head on that end and they need a little wider paw. In this case, we got them going 2 ways, but coyote tracks are oftentimes pretty straight. There's a little offset. I think a fox is straighter, but they're fairly straight.
Wiebe Trapline Adventures is brought to you by Redneck Convent, gear for the rugged, tough outdoors. By F&T Fur Harvesters Trading Post, everything you need for trapping and hunting. And by Southern Snares Trapping Supply, our customer success is our priority.
Coyote tracks are oftentimes pretty straight. There's a little offset. I think a fox is straighter, but they're fairly straight. And a lot of times with deer, if you're reading tracks on the fly, and you got to be a little careful. I've seen guys that are way too cocky reading tracks on the fly, and they don't know what they're talking about in some cases, because you get out and you start looking and they're wrong. But if you're reading tracks on the fly, one thing is the gait of the animal. A lot of times deer will have more than one critter in the group, and so there'll be several tracks in that group. There's just a lot of things, and you start getting a gut feeling, and normally that gut feeling is right. The one thing I haven't got good at on the fly, and sometimes even going slow or getting out, is bobcat. We don't have a lot of bobcat here. Now if we take a look over here, this coyote, he's getting on top of the snow. It's getting harder. And then right up in here, you can't even see hardly anything but 3 of his toes there. And so that it changes in about 10 feet. It changes tremendously. Again, those dynamics. If somebody ever put on like a week-long class on tracks, I would take it, because I've never had any formal training. Everything I've learned is in the field and reading books. And I know a lot of trappers that are honest, they'd say the same thing. In the fact that I just trap about 3 months out of the year, sometimes I find myself having to relearn these things too every fall. We sell at Dakota Line a lot of survival snares, and a lot of dealers sell our snares. And it's my feeling, and I'm positive, that people will buy these and put them in their backpack and they don't have a clue how to use them. When crunch time comes, they aren't going to know how to use them. And so this first snare is the one I really think you should have in your survival pack. This is the easy set snare, because a snare by itself is very hard to use. You have to have some way to support it into place. And this has the support wire already on it. And so with this easy supports wire on this already, easy set snares, I can wire this to a branch that's already existing. I don't even need a stake in this case. And so I'm going to wire this off. And it takes a little practice. I would encourage you to practice before you need to use these. Okay. So this snare is in place, and it's about the size we want. However, we're going to guide this rabbit a little bit more. And by the way, in this case, the animal, he's coming down this trail already. And I've got a few broken branches here that I busted off just so the cameraman could see a little bit better. But if we want him to hit this snare, we're going to give him some encouragement. And so we're going to put that branch in there. I'm going to bust this one down so it provides a little bit more guidance right over here. I mean, we're in business with this set. All right, we're down in here by Beaver Dam. It's really cool area. And there's a bunch of coyote tracks, but I haven't checked 3 of the snares. Got 5 snares. One had a porcupine. One was empty. And it got snowed in right after I set. But I really enjoyed that day setting here because we're down in and it was peaceful. And these beaver areas, they just attract critters. And bobcats you want to find bobcats. I mean, beaver dams and the little ecosystems that they produce are prime spots. Here we got something living in here. And, you know, if I had one of the young fellows with me, I'd have them reach in there and see what's in there, but I don't, and I'm not going to do it. But I'm pretty sure it's a porcupine in there because we've got porcupine droppings right here. And they're a big deal out here. They get big, and I do have a market for them. It's not always worth it hauling them out of places because they weigh sometimes, I swear, 30 pounds. And they're hard to handle, but I can get up to $10 for a porcupine sometimes. depending on the guard hair. So, but yeah, we're down here on the ice. A lot of coyote tracks on the ice. They like to run the ice in the wintertime, and as we're down here, there's one off in the distance howling, and I'm pulling. It's hard to pull when you got coyote sign like this, and they love running this ice in these creeks in the winter, and the deer don't run them as much, and so you don't have as much conflict with deer. And but there's a lot of coyotes. Coyotes been eating on that porcupine up there, and so we're going to check 3 snares and see what we have here.
Wiebe Trapline Adventures is brought to you by Cold Creek Trapping Products, serious trapping gear for the serious trapper. By MarkSteck Animal Lures, top quality baits and lures with proven performance. And by Wiebe Knives. Don't ever get caught in the field again with a dull knife.
Well, we've got a little action here. It appears like, yeah, the S-hook was opened up. So we had something strong that opened it up, and my guess is that's the hair off of a deer leg. So that's what's supposed to happen. Nothing worse than trying to release a deer that's been caught by the leg. And so that S-hook breaks away at 285 pounds of pull. So it worked, and I'm pleased it did. The snare's ruined, but we'll get the parts off of it. The snare's a one-time use tool, and if you're a guy that likes to watch the expenses, there's a lot of good cable in here yet. You could make another snare out of this cable. It's just that on the end you'll never get a loop to hold again on the end, so you could make other things, cable stakes and so forth. Okay, we've got number 4 of the day here, and we caught them down in a little stream bed, and they love running these stream beds once they're hard enough to walk on. And if you can find a pinch point, you're golden with these things. And for whatever reason, I mean, one is hunting, but 2 is it provides them cover. My theory is that a lot of the pups and the 1-year-olds that are leaving the family units, they're a little timid going out into the world on their own. And so they try and avoid, they try and stay low. They don't want to interact with more dominant coyotes. And so for whatever reason, they love running these. We got another snare right up here behind us. And you're golden when you get these things and you have a pinch point. They're almost can't miss. Well, that wraps up today. And we had 4 coyotes. In one area we saw a lot of tracks, but the other areas not so much. And speaking of tracks, you notice I got the tracks on the buggy here, but this is going to be the last year that I trap into the dead of winter out in this area anyway. If I need tracks, I'm not going to trap because I'm getting too old and my body can't handle it if I get into trouble. And out here you can really get into trouble, but it's beautiful country. I'm going to be out here in the fall and into early winter, and I'm going to be harvesting these beautiful coyotes and the beautiful skunks and taking advantage of this creation here. It's just fantastic country. So yeah, that's it for this year, and I've got every snare pulled, and that's kind of a nice feeling. I've got about 300 miles to get home now. Next week we're going to be in New Mexico, and just some awesome country, some really cool things on that show. And until then, peaceful waters. Oh yeah.
Doesn't get any better than that. Go to the blind set. Not happy.
He looks like he's good size.
All right, what we have here, we put a blind set in off the point from this rock. There's a rock outcropping runs off behind us. There's a tight spot here. So we made it a little bit tighter, added a few rub lures, and got my first New Mexico kitty. Big female.
There's a little left of something else out on the Bad River Road. Out on the Bad River Road. The whole wide world's at your